So just last night, couldn't fall asleep, and I was thinking about how cool it would be to collect some red ochre in California somewhere. And I had heard that there was red ochre in California, but didn't know where. So I started doing some research, found out that there's many areas, but one of the areas that was mentioned is the Oakland Hills, which I just moved to. So I was enamored to find out that information. Anyway, I'm out here, did some research, found out that at the intersection of Mountain Road and Redwood Road, or Mountain Boulevard and Redwood Road in Oakland Hills, there is an ancient, or a deposit of red ochre and yellow ochre. And so I'm out here in the morning looking for red ochre. And apparently this was a spot that was used prehistorically. Okay, so I drove down this cul-de-sac down here because I could see from satellite imagery that there seems to be a big like hillside that's been graded, or maybe was a part of a quarry. And I could see that on the steep sides of up above the cul-de-sac, you know, you'd have to access it through private property, that there was a mine, and I can see that's kind of red. So it's probably a good indicator that there's a big spread of red ochre out there. But I can't go through the neighborhood, but I found this path that's adjacent to the area, and I think this is going to lead us directly to there. And I have found some other pieces. I found this big chunk here, but the thing is, it's really red, which is great, but it's not like a typical rock where the entire piece is this red. It's more likely, because I started bashing off pieces, and a lot of it is kind of more of a yellow clay material. So it's kind of mixed in there. I just found a super red one. So I came up the hill. We got this is the first cut. And look at this hillside over here. That's further up. And I'm mostly finding smaller pieces. But look at this. Super red. Very good piece. It's in a matrix of yellow, softer yellow ochre. So if you were to crush it up, it'd kind of neutralize between those two. Sort of a brownish red. But if you were to break it apart and isolate only these red specks, you can get a really nice red pigment. I've just got my rock hammer, and this matrix is really loose. There were some areas over there that I was trying to get up, and it was just too steep, and I didn't want to be the recipient of a Darwin Award today. So I'm just coming up slowly along this area that's been graded, I guess. It's kind of cool because they've made it a hiking trail, so I'm not really like trespassing or anything. So yeah, just picking up little specks along the way, finding they really do stick out like a sore thumb too. So that's great. You can see the host material. It's not really like red. It's kind of more of a brown. So when you see something sitting there like that, you know what you got. Look at this, guys. Came across this big guy here. And yeah, you can see it's just a matrix of veins of red and yellow. There's some yellow there. It's a good chunk of yellow. Oh, look how vibrant this yellow is. That's really yellow. Nice. So we'll keep that one. And look at this red here. But the thing is, looks can be very deceiving with this because of the way it forms. So these are essentially the surface of veins that are through this matrix of white. So you would think that this whole thing is just a solid chunk of red, but it's actually more likely just this clayish white matrix that it forms in. There's also kind of this bluish, that's just a different sort of stone volcanic material formed on the bottom of the seabed. And this is actually some really old material, much older than some of the other sediments in the Bay Area. So let's just do a test here. We've got yellow, we've got red, we got this big chunk. Let me try to demonstrate what I mean by looks can be deceiving. Put these right here. I can kind of nap this stuff a little bit. Break get down onto it. So yeah, you can see chunks of bright red in a matrix of this white tan material. So if you're grinding it and you want to only get the red, you got to grind it down to that, only to that surface. See that? So that top is red, but the rest of the stone is mostly this matrix. This is another good example of the layers of the red ochre. Do you see that? See how thin that band is? So we only want that top material. So if you're gonna make a pigment, you might just bring this whole thing and grind it down. Or if you're a little more risky like me, I might just try to break it down and see if it'll break along that line. Probably won't, but we can try it. You can also see other layers in there of the same material. Well, I'm in a creek now, and the colors are a lot easier to see in here, and you're also getting pieces that have been broken up by the stream and maybe more separated from the matrix. And so I just found this one, which is a nice brick red, and this one I think is going to be a purple. See it over here, more of a deep purplish red. And this guy here, we can demonstrate again. It's much softer. You can see how much pigment you could get from something like this. Well, I just found a really big chunk that was down in this hole and pulled it out, and you can see it's super red, but it had a top on it that was more red, and then on the, so this is the red side, and then this is kind of more of a yellow side. And so I've just been spalling off some pieces sort of like this to get it to fracture down off of that back side. And then, you know, once I do that, I can kind of separate that red from the yellow. Like this. Those yellow pieces, or the red pieces, separate better. I'll leave that one here though, that one's really large. But these are the more pure pieces, just pure red. Cool. And I'm noticing that it breaks apart much more easily once it's been saturated. Cool. Well, I've started hiking down into the creek more, and I've found some more, of course. Testing it out. This one is pretty red, but I just saw this one. Maybe this is gonna be more of a bright red because it's mixed more with the, you can see that conglomerate kind of pattern, mixed more with the yellows. You can test it out on this rock here. Let me get back to you. Well, of the two, you can see this is the larger one on the left, kind of a more of an orange, just ever so slightly, and the one on the smaller one is more of a bright red. I'm really looking for something just bright red. I don't know if I'll find that in this area, but I want to. Well, I don't know if you would call this a sign of success or not, but my pants are stained red with ochre. And I'm pretty far up this creek, and I notice, obviously, I'm not the first person to come here and look for pigments. Looks like someone was testing some material over there. But you can see here, just look around, you can see red right there. There's a really big chunk of red right there. I don't know if I want to fish that one out of there, and I don't know how big it is, but that looks pretty bright red. I just came across a chunk over there, spalled it up a bit, found some really good color, and I think I'm about ready to go home. Obviously there's quite a bit of it, and look at this piece right here. I don't know if this is ochre or if it's just a red rock. Kind of a purple red. I don't want that one. Pieces that have been saturated break down much more easily. This creek is super pretty. Look at this. It's got some tiny waterfalls running through it. And we're adjacent to a redwood forest. Beautiful. Keep going. This is a big boy. He's gone. Right in the path though, he might get stepped on, might have to put him to the side. Let's just gently scoop him up. It's the fastest you'll move all your life, bud. There you go.